Fever HC exposes Caitlin Clark and company. Weakness after deflecting blame for Wings' loss. It was the kind of loss that leaves a sting. After a wild, down-to-the-wire finish against the Dallas Wings, the Indiana Fever were left searching for answers. In the post-game press conference, head coach Stephanie White offered her explanation for the collapse, but for many who watched the final chaotic seconds unfold, the real answers lay with the coach herself. In the post-game press conference, when asked about the team's disorganization and 17 turnovers, White didn't hesitate. "Well, all of our point guards are injured. I think that's the first thing," she said, referencing the absences of Caitlin Clark, Sydney Colson, and Ari McDonald. "It's tough, because point guards are the ones who get you organized." She described a team that got tunnel vision and started over-dribbling, a clear weakness exposed by the Wings' defensive pressure. But that excuse rings hollow when you look at what this same team did just 3 days earlier. In a 92-70 blowout win against the Chicago Sky, the Fever also had no true point guards. Yet, with Kelsey Mitchell and Sophie Cunningham running the offense, they looked fluid, confident, and organized. After that victory, Mitchell herself described the team's ability to overcome adversity. "I think this is the most resilient team I've ever been a part of, and I say that wholeheartedly," she said. "We've had a lot of mishaps, but throughout the course of it all we stay resilient. It took everybody." That resilience makes the point guard excuse for the Wings' loss feel convenient, sidestepping the real issues, the coaching decisions that actually cost them the game. The point guard excuse couldn't explain away the final 12 seconds. White herself admitted she probably should have used her final timeout earlier, a critical hesitation that killed any chance of a structured play. That misstep, combined with what critics like Jason Whitlock called questionable rotations, playing a brand new player for 13 minutes while seeming to underutilize Lexi Hull, painted a picture of a coach who was outmaneuvered. By blaming the obvious weakness, White deflected from the decisions that ultimately sealed the Fever's fate, leaving fans with one overwhelming sentiment: White has got to go. Enough is enough. Caitlin Clark plays peacemaker as coach Stephanie White's frustrations boil over. While the chaotic final play was the lasting image of the loss, a moment in the second quarter perfectly captured the simmering tension of the night. As the game's physicality ramped up, Coach White's frustration with the officiating reached a boiling point. She stormed down the sideline to confront a referee, her anger palpable. But before she could get a technical foul, her injured superstar, Caitlin Clark, stepped in from the bench, physically grabbing her coach and pulling her back from the brink. It was a stunning role reversal. Last season, the team famously formed a Caitlin Clark de-escalation committee to keep their fiery rookie from clashing with the refs. Now, Clark was the one playing peacemaker, managing her coach's emotions. In the post-game presser, White didn't hold back, confirming the source of her anger and giving context to the sideline outburst. "I think there's a double standard in how people get their calls," she fumed. "I think Kelsey Mitchell is held or chucked on every freaking possession and never gets a call. I think Aaliyah Boston is the worst officiated post player in the league. She never gets a call." White's frustration was likely amplified by a controversial play late in the second quarter. With the game tied, Wings star Paige Buchers drove to the basket and went down, clutching her head. The dramatic nature of the fall immediately sparked a firestorm online, with fans renewing allegations that the rookie engages in foul baiting. This isn't a new accusation in this rivalry. In fact, a previous game was marred by a lopsided free throw count that had fans crying foul.so. In a rivalry where every whistle is dissected, Buchers' fall was seen by many not as an injury scare, but as another attempt to work the officials, adding another layer of tension to a pressure cooker season for the Fever. The locker room smelled of damp jerseys and frustration. A lone basketball rolled lazily across the floor before stopping at Caitlin Clark's foot. She barely noticed. Her eyes were fixed on the wall opposite her locker, jaw tight, replaying the game in her mind like a film she wished she could reshoot. The Indiana Fever had just fallen to the Dallas Wings. The scoreboard read 87-76, but the numbers didn't tell the whole story. There had been a run in the third quarter when the Fever's offense froze and the Wings pounced. Caitlin's missed threes, turnovers under pressure, and the glaring gaps in defensive rotations. Head coach Stephanie White stepped into the room, clipboard tucked under her arm, her voice level but sharp. "All right," she began. "We're going to talk about this before you all hit the showers." A few players shifted uncomfortably. A towel dropped to the floor. "Tonight wasn't about hustle," White continued. "You hustled. You ran the floor. But hustle doesn't cover holes in execution." Caitlin met her coach's eyes. There it was, execution. That word had chased her since high school. She had lit up the scoreboard with deep threes and flashy assists, but when the defense pressed, when the game slowed into half-court battles, cracks started showing. "You want to know what the Wings saw?" White said, scanning the room. "They saw exactly what I've been warning about since preseason. They know if they trap high and force you left, our spacing breaks down. They know if they make our bigs work outside the paint, we lose the rebounding war. And they know that when our shooters get cold," she let the silence hang, "we start doubting ourselves." Someone muttered, "We just miss shots." White's eyes narrowed. "No. We let them make us miss shots." Caitlin felt the sting. She wanted to argue, wanted to say that the Wings defenders had hands in her face on every attempt, that she had been hammered on 2 drives with no whistle. But deep down she knew White was right. Dallas had dictated the game, and the Fever had reacted instead of dictated back. But then White did something unexpected. She leaned back against the lockers, crossing her arms. "Before you think I'm throwing anyone under the bus, let me be clear. I could have done better too. I could have adjusted faster. I could have given you clearer sets when they took away the pick and roll. That's on me. But here's the thing. Blame doesn't fix problems. Facing our weaknesses does." The words hung heavier than the loss itself. Later, away from the group, Caitlin sat on the training table, untying her sneakers. "Coach," she said quietly as White walked past, "do you think they've figured me out already?" White paused, then sat beside her. "Every great player gets figured out. That's the easy part. The hard part is staying great once they do. You've got a gift, Caitlin, but the league doesn't care about gifts, they care about your counters. You got trapped tonight? Good. Now go build a way out of it." Caitlin thought about that all the way to her car. The parking lot was quiet, the air thick with Indiana humidity. She remembered the rookie-year stories of WNBA legends who got humbled early. Diana Taurasi getting bodied in her first playoff series, Sue Bird struggling against aggressive traps,